Welcome to the Inspiration Hour with Luce M. Mack, as we inspire by sharing real people's stories and their exhilarating journeys. We all learn by sharing our gifts and talents through the power of talking with one guest at a time. Get cozy, get your favorite nighttime drink, and let's get ready to be wowed with inspiration.
Hi, happy Monday, mi gente. Is another Inspiration Hour with Luz. I'm so happy. I'm so pumped. I hope y'all had a great weekend. It was really nice out here in New York. I'm not sure where you're at, so I'm hoping you had some nice weather and got to experience some fun time with family or friends, or just some quiet time at home, whatever it is that you enjoy. So tonight, I have a friend who's joining, but we've never met. So it's really cool to meet people that you're inspired through their journey. That way I could share about her journey and what she's been doing. So let me just get into this by sharing her bio. Faith-based empowerment speaker, best-selling author, certified life coach, podcaster, entrepreneur, Jamie Watkins is known for her infectious smile, positive energy, and down-to-earth approach, and keen ability to connect with a powerful message rooted in self-acceptance, empowerment, and living with purpose. Jamie wants women everywhere to embrace their stories, stand confidently in their truths, and create the lives they want. She's often called a happiness coach. She's the founder of My Piece of Happy, a coaching, consulting, and community brand dedicated to uplifting women. Jamie shares her story with women all over the world to let them know they're not alone. As a recovering perfectionist and planning control freak, she understands what it is like to feel stuck and trying to control the uncontrollable and fix the unfixable. Jamie's mission is to inspire women to love themselves enough to know with certainty they're enough, equipped, empowered for purpose. And let me just say, I love her bio because she talks about that perfectionism that we all suffer from. So anyways, let's just bring Jamie on so you guys get a chance to meet her, talk with her, and enjoy her journey. Hi, Jamie. Are you on?
I am. Hello, hello.
Hello. Buenas noches. How are you feeling?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm good. And how was your book signing? First of all, congratulations.
Thank you. It was amazing. We had, here in PA/New Jersey, right on the border, we had a storm come through. So I, for a second, was deterred. I'm like, is there anybody going to come out in the rain? And it was kind of messy. But then I was like, you know what, God, whoever's supposed to be there is going to press their way and be there. And It was a beautiful turnout, and it was just amazing. So thank you for asking.
Awesome. No, I saw the pictures. I think you had like a couple of stories of the event up, and I just loved it. You looked so happy. And I just want to jump into it. If you could just start by sharing your book, because
sure.
It just came out, and that's a big deal. And I remember before the book came out, I had reached out to you to congratulate you, because it's an amazing feat to complete a book. And a lot of people just don't understand how much work and how much labor of love you spent on this before it's out. So can you tell us about the book and what's it about?
Absolutely, yes. It was a journey in itself, like you said. It proved to be very therapeutic at the same time. The title of the book is My Piece of Happy, and I spell peace. I'm using the PEACE, peace. And it's a self-love journey to happiness, purpose, and lifestyle success. So it goes from my journey of grief and heartache to peace and purpose. And it's just to hopefully inspire women to know that no matter what, right, to embrace all of their story, the good, the bad, the ugly, things we don't want to talk about, embrace the fact that it is all to prepare you, to propel you to a greater place in life.
Now, I know we've talked in the past, and we talked about embracing the ugly. Is there some things that is okay to share that kind of inspired you to share your ugly and accept all of you? Like,
Sure, yes. Coming out of a dark place, going through a toxic relationship, marriage, my first marriage. I'm in my forever marriage now. But that process of getting to the place of loving myself enough to get out of that, I was in a very dark place, feeling, not worthy and not good enough, unlovable. And I was just so pressed that the fix the unfixable you read there, I was so pressed to have this expectation to have this happily ever after that I wanted, that I got in my way and in God's way of what he really had for me, trying to fix what wasn't meant for me and staying stuck way longer than I should because I didn't love myself enough. And so this journey, which I share in my book, is going through that, and where I had to kind of reflect where that came from. Like, why was that so important? And where did that come from when I grew up with my dad loving my mom like he did, that set the expectation for this happily ever after I wanted? And I traced it back to my brother dying when I was 9, and almost like a PTSD, if you will, because we didn't do therapy back in the day, right? It's big now, but we didn't.
Yeah.
It was, you couldn't, it's God or the therapist. You can't do both. And so I had to trace that back to when I made that bucket list at 9. It was like, well, my brother walked out the house at 21 and didn't come back. And I was 9. And to me, that just made me very aware that, okay, you could die. So I made this list of, this is what I want to do before I die. So I just kind of got into this OCD, compulsive planning and controlling. It was like, I'm going to have this thing. Like, I'm going to have this. I'm going to experience this before I die. And it just went way wrong. But that was a learning experience. And I needed all of that to appreciate where I am now and to get me to where I am, to finally get to that end of the rope, if you will, as, this dark place, to say, okay, God, like, I can't fix this. I don't know what to do, and move out of the way. Love myself enough to believe who God said I was, and move in that truth instead of what I was telling myself, well, you're not good enough. You got to change this. Well, maybe try this and they'll love you. And you know what? God said you're enough. And you are. He loved you so much. He sent his son to die for you. I had to stand in that. And that helped me to get the courage to say, you know what? This is not for me. I deserve better than this. And I can change this situation. I can choose.
This is powerful. And it's powerful in so many levels, right? Because I know a lot of the journey that you wrote in your book is personal, but every woman, it doesn't matter, even if it's a young teenager learning to love someone for the first time, if they don't know to love themselves first, which is like the most powerful message you teach, it sets an impact on the rest of their relationships.
Yes.
And it starts from the beginning at home. And I, too, had experienced toxic relationship. The father of my oldest, it wasn't good. I'll say that much. And it was a huge struggle. He was an alcoholic, and it took me a long time to get the strength to leave him. And I ended up leaving him with my daughter in my arms. She was less than a month old at the time, but he had hit me. And that kind of like was an awakening call for me. And I talk about it now in a different space. Like, I'm not upset at him. I forgive him. He is a good person. But when there's like a problem that's never addressed, it doesn't do well when you're trying to build a home. All those things seep in. And the fact that we talk about embracing the ugliness in such a real way, because there's so many women out there who are still embracing the ugliness and not believing that they too can be happy and find their person, or what, the person that's meant for them.
Right. Yes. And just the fact, something you said, and it's so true, and it's one of my core beliefs that you have to love yourself first, is the disservice that we do. And the narrative is changing, I will say, over the past few years, that it's not selfish, and people are embracing that you can actually, love yourself first. But I like to point out the disservice you do when you don't is quite the contrary, I think, to selfishness. That when we love ourselves first, we're so much better to love others. We're so much better mothers to love our children when we are not burnt out and agitated and aggravated because we're putting ourselves last. We're not getting the sleep we need. We're not loving ourselves enough to nurture ourselves mentally, spiritually, emotionally, right? When we don't do that, we're not our best selves. We're not showing up as good as we may tell ourselves we are. If we're truly honest, right? When you your head hits the pillow at the end of the night, like, do you have regret? Do you have dread when you wake up? Like, all of that is because we're not paying attention to our bodies. We're not loving ourselves first. And how much better you are when you do that.
Yeah. And it's almost like we're denying our spirit to speak for us. Like, no, we're not full. Like, there's something missing. So we can't do that soul searching of what is it, so we can feel full and rested and the energy to give to others. Oh my gosh, we just got right into it. So you're a speaker, a coach, an author, a podcaster, and an entrepreneur. I admire you so much. I want to know how did it start for you? How did you know, like, I'm becoming a speaker? I'm going to be a coach. I'm going to do because you're kind of like you're doing it all. You're not just like writing. You wrote your first book now, but you knew you were going to write that book for a while.
God told me that for a while, but I didn't know it. I was like, are you sure? Like, okay, God showed me this writing the book. So I did start the little story on that, right? So 3 years ago, when I started my blog, and I just really I read a book, ironically enough. I read a book, and it just lit a fire, like just did something, one of those just at the right time. And I was like, the one line from it was, your dream doesn't have an expiration date. And that just hit me so, like, conviction, overwhelm, feel good, like this plethora of emotion that was like, I have to move, like I have to do something, because I had sat on my dream and I had disqualified myself from so much that I wanted to do. I've always had a heart for women and sharing. Like, when I was little, it was like, oh, it's going to be a talk show, or, oh, I'm going to do, I'm going to do a group home. I'm going to do, like, it was always an act of service. I know my gifts are helps, service, exaltation. Like, so whatever it was I wanted to do, even when it was like, I want to be a teacher, it was an act of service, right? So I've always had that, but I disqualified myself when it was like, well, you can't even love yourself. So how are you going to help someone else? Oh, well, you're divorced. So how are you going to talk about relationships? I had done that. Oh, well, you filed for bankruptcy, so your credit score is not A1 anymore. How are you going to tell somebody about wealth? Where little did I know, right? Hindsight's 2020. All of that was qualifying me even more, because now not only do I know what to do, I can tell you what not to do. So where I had disqualified myself, and God showed me the vision I had, and I hope this isn't too super spiritual for people, but me and Jesus are besties. The vision God showed me was, I was coming off a stage and signing my book. I couldn't see the cover, know what kind of book. I just knew I was speaking on a stage, and it was one of those, like, and I'm signing books in the back. I knew it was my book though. So I was like, okay. So for 3 years I journaled. I'm a best-selling author. And I would say with confidence, I have a book in me. Like, oh yeah, God's shown me, I know I have a book in me. That's as far as it went, because I really didn't believe I had anything to write about though. So I was just waiting for God to, like, download the book. Like, I'm going to have it in a dream. I'm going to wake up and start writing. Like, I don't know how it was going to happen. So it was kind of like, when you're ready to give it to me. And this year, I was praying for this greater, and this, I started blogging in 2019, and I have ADHD. Sorry, I'm all over the place.
No.
Let me back up.
I want to hear this.
The dream doesn't have an expiration date. Let me back up to there. So on a beach, we had taken my daughter for her Sweet 16. We're in Bahamas, and I tell my husband, because I had just, read this. I'm like, I have to do something. I was like, I have to do something. I don't know whatever it is, because we're in the Bahamas and we're traveling. I'm like, I need to do it from wherever I am. Like, I need to be able to travel still and do it. So I knew that, and I knew I had to do it. I had to move. Like, I can't worry about saving enough money, getting what I didn't have. I was like, I have to do something, whatever I can do with what I have. And so I was like, I can start a blog. That doesn't, okay, get a domain, and I can start writing and sharing with women. And so that was my piece of happy was the blog. And then by the next year, I knew, like, I want to do more. I need to speak. I need to share. Like, this writing, the posts are nice, but everybody's not reading them. I need to get this word out that women need to love themselves enough, and that they are already enough. They are already equipped with the gifts God gave them for their purpose. Like, I was on a mission at that point. And so then after the speaking, the pandemic hit and I had like 5 speaking. I was okay. I'm finally going to get these women together and I'm going to speak. And I planned out these 5 events, and the pandemic hit, and I was like, okay, God, now what? And my word of the year was impact. How am I going to make an impact if I can't reach these women? And then this coaching, this online, like, okay, how do you become a coach in 2020 or during a pandemic, whatever the title was? And it just spoke to me like, oh, that's what I need. Then yes, that's exactly what I want to know. How? And so I got my certification in coaching, which obviously I could do online. So I was taking clients and I'm sharing. And it's just been this continuous, that's not enough, which brought me to, okay, God, I'm coaching, I'm sharing online, I'm speaking, maybe not on stage yet, right? But I'm doing what you told me, but I felt like I wasn't moving, if that makes sense. Like, I'm doing everything, but I'm not moving forward. And the word I had for this year was greater. So I'm like, well, where is the greater, God? Because I can ask him, because we're friends. And he was like, you didn't do what I told you. Like, don't ask me for anything else till you do what I told you to do. Like, I literally heard my mom's voice, like, don't ask me for nothing else until you do what I told you. Something I say to my kids. And I was like, okay, ouch, right? Wow. And immediately the book popped in my head, like, right, I never wrote the book 3 years ago that he showed me and told me to write. And so I still didn't feel any more ready. And I want the listeners to hear that. I didn't feel ready. I still didn't think I had anything to write, that my story mattered. Like, is it going to make a difference? But I knew I had to start. And so I got a coach to help keep me accountable. And I said, I have to write this book. And she's like, well, why? What's your passion? Why do you feel like you have to write it? And I was like, I just have to listen to God. I don't feel like I'm ready to write it. I don't feel like I know what to write. I just know I have to write a book. And literally, she's like, okay, well, just share your story. And I told her my story. And she's like, that's your book. That's your book. So we outlined my life, my story. And it just, every day when I woke up to write, more would come. And then more would come. And it was like, go deeper. Okay, like, what lesson? Because I didn't want it to just be, hey, these bad things happened to me. What did I learn from it? What did I learn that I can help someone with? Because it wasn't for nothing that this happened, right? So how can I tell my story and help impact the life of someone else through my journey so they can see themselves and know, okay, it gets better. So, yeah.
So you decided to self-publish it, and I kind of want to know why. Like, what was the big motivation? I feel like for some reason, I kid you not, when I saw your book, I was like, New York Times bestseller. I just kept thinking that over and over again.
You keep thinking it.
and I will. And you're talking to someone that's an author as well. who will love to be in one of those lists that says New York Times bestseller.
Yes, let's go.
And we're
There's
going
room for
after
both
it.
of us.
Yes. No, I know. More than enough. We need more Black and brown there. So,
Yes.
but if you could kind of share what determined for you to go as a self-published author, knowing how hard it is, that means you are the person that's marketing, pushing the book out, uploading the book, dealing with designers. Like there is no breaks. No breaks.
No. I was just on the phone all day I booked 3 best book signings at the Barnes and Nobles around here, but that was all day. Like, talk to this person, talk to that person. Okay. Like, yeah.
And why do you need to share the book and how to get it? Exactly.
And that decision for me was the urgency.
Yes.
That for me, it was, I need to get this book out, not I need to write it and have it sit because nobody will pick it up. So for me, it was true. This story has to get out. And I mean, God willing, it's out there now. So feel free, anybody to pick it up. But that was, for me, it was just important that it gets out there and somebody needs it now. Like, I felt like in my intro, literally, I say, I apologize to my reader for the delay because I don't know whose breakthrough I sat on because I wasn't doing what God told me to do. I sat on my gifts, and gifts are meant to be given, right? Like, this didn't happen just for me. And so I delayed someone. I mean, God's on time, right? He knows how to adjust it. But whose breakthrough I delayed by sitting on my gifts. And so I felt like I can't anymore. Like, once I got that answer, it was like, I have to get this out. Somebody needs what I have, just like somebody needs what you have. Our stories matter.
You just made my heart jump. I don't know. Like, you just said, let's rewind. You said, I apologize to my readers because I don't know whose breakthrough did I delay. Because my book is going to cause that. That's powerful. Jamie, oh my God. I'm like trying to rub down my little hairs that are standing.
My coach says that to me. She's like, I don't know what it is. Every time I talk to you, I get goosebumps. I'm like,
I just got the goosebumps. Because every time I doubt my gifts or my books, or because being an entrepreneur is tough, sometimes it's financially limiting, it's emotionally limiting. I'm going to use the word limiting a lot right now, so bear with me. Emotionally limiting. Sometimes your creativity feels limiting because you feel it's so like it's not good. And then all of a sudden when you put something out there and you hear that it inspired someone, you hear someone, I've been wanting to do something like this, but I just couldn't do it. And when they see you do it,
yes,
you're just helping move that person along. And
yes, that has been so overwhelming for me in a good way. That experience that I'm like, I just thought I didn't have anything to write. Like in one, okay, that in itself, and I know you can relate, right? It's like, okay, I wrote a whole book. Like, can we just stay right there for a second? Like, what? Because I still surprised myself. I'm the one that was like, God, I'm not a writer. Like, so I don't know why you showed me that, but I'll go with it. But I don't know if it's me. I did that whole Moses thing, like maybe somebody else. And so to hear the reviews, it's like, wow, like this is why. And the book was for me too. Like as I'm writing, like I said, it was therapeutic. I'm like talking to myself. I'm inspiring myself that, you know what, I can do hard things. By the time I'm done, I'm like, okay, this is the book you said you couldn't write. Like you can absolutely do the hard things. And so now, forget about it. I do it scared. I do it when I don't know how to do it. Like I'm just starting. Just start.
Yeah, that's all that matters. I know for me, when I wrote my first book without really knowing what I was getting myself into. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I wrote a book not knowing like what it was going to do to me. Because here I am still
Mm-hmm.
writing, still
Mm-hmm.
going ferociously at it. Because I said in my heart, I'm not done yet. I'm not done
Yes.
yet at all. There's,
Yes.
and every time people are like, so why did you write this book? And why did you write that? I'm like, because I have so many stories
Mm-hmm.
that have, in a way, and it made me think more positive
Yeah.
about my life of lack. It made me
Yeah.
think more positive about some of the children we have in our community that don't see themselves at all. I think I have another question for you about what is it that you do as a day job? Because I think people need to know
Mm-hmm.
that you're doing all this magic, but you're also working during the day.
Oh, yeah.
Like, like
Yes.
you're not like some people are lucky enough that their dream job has become their full time, but you
Yeah.
are still
That's
working,
the
my friend.
goal. I'm still working towards that. Yes, I am a
Yeah,
full-time 20 plus year project manager. So yeah,
awesome.
it is full-time and then the second job. So yeah.
And it never
Yeah.
ends.
Yeah, that one never ends. Even when I try to sleep, I'm like thinking of stuff yeah, it's this one is just around the clock.
So what does your daughter and your husband think of all
Ah,
this? Like you working and then you're dedicating time to them and then you're
yes, they
doing this
have
second job.
been, yeah, very, my husband is my biggest cheerleader, and my daughter's probably a close second. But yes,
Close.
my close, because if she's over a boyfriend's house or something, I'm like, I need help with what we're doing. I'm like, okay, forget it. But
Yeah,
but
yeah.
yeah, the family has been, and I have three boys and my daughter, so we have four together, and they have been truly amazing and inspired. So that's been so beautiful to see that they're watching me even when I think they aren't, and they're coming up with ideas and they're helping promote, and they're inspired themselves to start their own businesses, and so that
Yeah.
really encourages me to keep going. And my husband is really amazing because you can imagine how much time this takes away from the house, and it's like without me asking, like he took over, like, okay, well, whatever I don't do, he's just like got it covered, like without me saying, I need you to help me with this or help. We just fill in for each other. And probably I will say now he fills in more for me than I have to fill in for him. But he believes in my dream and he believes in my purpose. So
No, that's
yeah.
amazing. My husband, when I wrote my first book, he's like, write 7 more. I'm like, but wait, it took
Yes.
me so long to save money to write this book because I got illustrators, I got editors, and then I got
Mm-hmm.
designers. All this, takes money, time, and
Yeah.
obviously you want to put something that you're very proud of and that
Mm-hmm.
is competitive. But
Right.
he was
Right.
that supportive. I think one of our biggest challenges is that having a child that's has social emotional learning and
Mm-hmm.
needs a lot of time. So we've always promised each other that regardless of what's going on in our lives, we'll put everything on hold if our children needs us. So there have been times that has been kind of like a challenge for my life, and I'm not sure if you have run up against things like that in your life, that when something happens with the kids, like everything else has to take a pause.
Um, I will say, I mean, it absolutely would, but I'm trying to think of, I mean, well, yeah, actually, we have had some, I'm thinking of back 3 years now. Over the last 3 years, we've had some things, but yeah, that is definitely understood and a given. It's like you said, it's drop everything and take care of what needs to be taken care of. Family is definitely always first. So, but I can't think of anything like major, like where there's been a major delay, even if there's just, I should say, a major, like a stop. even if there's been a delay. Like, it's okay, right? It may not happen this week, or okay, maybe it's not going to happen this month, but it will still happen.
Yeah, no, definitely. One of the reasons I asked is because as you're a full-time worker, a full-time mom, and a full-time business owner, we are forever juggling, and these things, is something that people really think about, like when they want to venture off and have their own business one day. And we just make it happen, even with the hiccups, even with whatever the delay is.
And the support. Yeah. Your husband, I'm sure, can say, write 7 more books, because he knows that he can see the joy in what it brought out in you when you write the one, or the passion behind it. So our kids and, family, and like my husband, he can see that. I think they see that. So it's like no question that mommy's doing, like, this is how we want mommy happy. We see the passion here. So whatever we can do, you know what I mean? So it's not a matter of what some women may think, I can't do that because, my kids or my husband. No, when you're happy, they're happy. So they understand. It's boundaries, right? We set our boundaries. And even if it's as little, it may not be an author like Luz and I, even if it's little things, like it would make me happy, right? If I could read a book, if I had time to read a book. Set your boundaries. Your kids and your husband will honor them when you let them know how important it is to you. That's the communication part, right? That I coach when I'm coaching women through, like, communicate, set your boundaries, honor them yourself, and respect them yourself. And you'll be surprised how others follow. The issue that we sometimes run into is we don't honor them, right? It's, I want to do this. You tell yourself you're going to do this for yourself.
So well said.
Your kids run in the room, or your husband comes with something, you do it anyway. So you stop. You don't keep the promise to yourself. You stop. You yield, right, to whatever is going on. And then at the end of the week, you're like, I didn't even get a chance to read because this, that, and the other. But you did that, right? You didn't honor your boundary. You didn't say, give me 30 minutes and I'll get to that. Or no, not right now because this is mommy's reading time. Or no, hun, could you get that yourself because, right? I'm keeping this commitment to myself. And when they see you do that, then the questions will change. It won't even be like, honey, could you go pick up whatever? It's going to be like, are you available right now? Like, do you have time to? Well, no, actually, I'm reading my book right now. Oh, okay. No worries, right? Either it can wait or I'll take care of it, because they know, okay, she's giving herself that time. That's important, right? So that's just one of the tips, I would say.
Yeah. No, definitely. Hello?
Yes.
I usually tell women and whoever has a goal to do anything in life, start with 15 minutes of your day. Mm-hmm. If you could focus 15 minutes on whatever your heart is set in your day, you can make this a daily habit. But it has to start with one day out of a week for 15 minutes. And then you could increase it to 2 to 3. If it's writing, you could do 15 minutes writing. You'll be surprised how much writing you could get done in 15 minutes. And then it'll add to 30 minutes. But if you don't start, you'll never know. And that's something I've always said.
I just posted that quote not too long. If you don't start, I'll guarantee you'll never finish.
And it's true. And there was this one challenge. I went to a writer's group and they did this one challenge. And it was like, okay, we're going to set a timer for 5 minutes. Mm-hmm. Like, pour your heart on this paper, write as much as you want. So we wrote a lot. Mm-hmm. Then they set the timer for 3 minutes. They're like, whatever you wrote in that 5-minute timer, take some words or whatever you love from that, and we're going to reuse it in 3 minutes. And then it goes all the way to 30 seconds. Oh, You'll be surprised how much got written. And then they're like, okay, good. Now we're going to make this so simple. I'm going to give you 5 minutes. I want you to draw a tree. Now 3. And it goes all the way down again. And it's like, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
We're using, we know what we want, right? We see it, we envision it, but we have a hard time achieving it for different reasons.
Yeah.
So I wanted to kind of move on the conversation to something a little bit more fun, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Because usually I like to end the episode so people could get to know you. And I usually have this thing where I ask a question or say a statement and you say the first thing that comes into your mind.
Wow.
Just finish the sentence.
Okay.
My dream vacation is.
Italy came to mind, but I've never been there. I would have thought I'd say something with sun, but okay.
What's your dream vacation? Anything?
Italy
any thoughts come to mind?
Italy came to mind. But that's actually can you hear me?
Ooh, so it might be Italy.
Maybe.
I can't live without. What can't you live without?
Love. Are you there?
Yes. I can't live without. What can't?
I can't live without love.
Oh, that's beautiful. What's your favorite food?
Soul food, probably.
Oh, I love soul food.
Mm-hmm.
My favorite is candy yams.
Oh, yes.
I said it like
that is one of my favorites as well.
And string beans, but for some reason I had string beans with it. I don't know. Someone made string beans with peanuts, and I wasn't a fan of it at first, looking at it. But when I tasted it, I'm like, oh, this tastes different. Like, this tastes good.
Oh, I don't know if I've ever had peanuts.
Someone did it with that. I mean, me and my husband were like, that's not soul food. But then when we had it, it tasted good. I don't know.
See, I got to be open. I got to see now.
Yeah, obviously, we love soul food. And my one of my final questions is, when people describe you, ask what words come to their mind.
Happy.
Yes.
Yeah.
You have such a magnetic smile to you, so I could see that.
Thank you.
No, you're so welcome. What advice do you have for a younger Jamie?
To know that she's enough and to trust who God says she is.
Oh, that's amazing. And how can we support you?
Oh, support me with loving yourself enough to do the hard things. And I love community. So I would say stay connected, get connected if you're not already, and stay connected if you are. And let's take this journey together.
Yes. And where can we find you?
My Piece of Happy, PEACE. And I made it easy. So it's My Piece of Happy everywhere: Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, TikTok, and mypieceofhappy.com.
So awesome. Jamie, I'm so grateful you joined me tonight, and I hope you had fun chatting with me.
Oh, always. Thank you for the opportunity to share.
I'm so happy to share space with you, but I'm more happy to share how your journey is really not only about you, but you reaching out to other women and letting them know that they're enough. Yes. And that they could achieve happiness and go after their goals. So thank you so much for your message, and thank you so much for being a friend.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Luz. Take care.
Take care. Good night. Thank you guys for joining.
That brings us to the end of our Inspiration Hour with Luz, and I hope you're feeling unstoppable. If you enjoy our show, please follow me on Instagram or Facebook at Luz Mac Official, or check out my website at www.luzmac.com. Review, like, and heart us. And don't forget to spread the inspiration with others. And be sure to come back next week as I help you find your inspiration in the little things, one talk at a time.